Good afternoon, everybody. After lunch, yay. Greetings, alumni, volunteer leaders, and friends. My name is Erin O'Malley-Aguian, and I'm the current president of the USC Encore Trojan Board and a proud member of the 2017 Alumni Leadership Conference Planning Committee. It is my pleasure today to welcome you to our Engagement Strategies workshop, From Engagement to Commitment, Story, Gifts, and Purpose. We are fortunate to have an incredibly talented Trojan alumna leading our workshop today. Susan Inoue is an executive coach with a proven track record for creating lasting change and greater success for executives, business owners, and prominent companies such as Manufacturers Bank and Southern California Edison. Through her gift-centered approach to coaching, Susan has successfully created dramatic turnarounds and transformed workplace cultures. A 1974 graduate of the Dornsife College of Letters, Arts, and Sciences, Susan has received a congressional award for her outstanding contributions to the community, and later this year, her book, Leadership's Perfect Storm, What Millennials Are Teaching Us About Possibilities, Passion, and Purpose, will be published. So ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Susan.
Thanks, Erin. Well, good afternoon. Are you all ready to get started? Okay. So turn to the person next to you. This is going to be your buddy for the rest of the session, yes? So say hi to your buddy. All right. And next, I want you to find the person at your table who has the longest hair. Okay? This is going to be your facilitator when we do group exercises. So the job of the facilitator is just to keep track of time and to make sure that everyone has a chance to share, all right? And now, when you hear this sound and you see me doing this, it'll mean to switch so that the other person can share. When you hear that sound again and I'm doing this, this will mean to stop the exercise and to let your table know to quiet down, okay? So facilitators, please reach into the center of the table. There is an envelope. And in the envelope, you'll find handouts. If you can take one and pass the rest of them around, that would be most helpful. And so I can give you as much information as possible today, I'm going to ask you to hold your questions to the very end. So today we're going to talk about from engagement to commitment. Many years ago, I was at a business networking with a friend of mine. And he did something that I'll never forget. He turned engagement into commitment in about 60 seconds. We were sitting at a table waiting for the program to begin. And so several of the people at the table said, hey, since we have time, why don't we introduce ourselves and tell us what work we do? So when it came to my friend's turn, this is what he said. Hi, I'm Tony LeRae. I'm the founder and the CEO of Youth Mentoring Connection. I sold my business about 15 years ago to start this nonprofit to help and save the lives of at-risk youth in South Central Los Angeles. Teens like Leonard who've been forgotten, who live in gang-riddled areas and don't think they'll see their life past 18. In fact, when Leonard came to us, he was the enforcer of a gang called Faux Block, and he rarely attended high school. But our community at YMC, we saw his gifts and we cared for his wounds. And we gave him a caring mentor and a community of support, and we didn't give up on him no matter how much trouble he got himself into. Well, Leonard began to trust us, and he saw us as a better gang to belong to. Today, Leonard is out of gang life. He graduated high school, and he's attending the University of Hawaii. In fact, when his mentor came to me, he said, Tony, that Leonard, he's changed my life. He's given more to me than I've given to him. The result of that intro led to people at that table. They wanted to know more about Leonard and about YMC. In fact, two of them, they actually volunteered that day to be mentors. They signed up for one of Tony's mentoring programs. And a third was a woman exec. She wrote a check on the spot for $1,000 Today, we're going to learn how to turn that engagement into commitment through story, gift, and purpose. Because when you focus in on these areas, the byproduct will be, there it goes, new volunteers and members and sponsors, because people see in your stories something that they can relate to. It will also be the retention of your existing base, because when people can use their gifts, they feel valued and seen for who they are. And the third is you'll get individuals who help you achieve your mission. Because when people's vision for the life is aligned with the mission of the organization, they go beyond what is expected. They just don't pay dues and attend monthly meetings, but they invest in themselves, the work, and the organization. When you do all of this, you get ROM, return on mission, which is different than ROI, return on investment. Return on mission is a social return on the financial investment. And in fact, the purpose of organizations in the social sector is not profit, but it's how well do they achieve their mission. So let me ask you, how many of you know of a best-selling author by the name of Jim Collins? Anybody? Yeah. Jim Collins wrote a book called Good to Great, and many others. But did you know he also wrote an addendum called Good to Great and the Social Sector? And in it, he says that a great organization is one that delivers superior performance and makes an impact over a long period of time. In the business sector, financial returns are a perfectly legitimate way of measuring performance. That's ROI. Within the social sector, performance must be assessed relative to the mission, not financial returns. In fact, in the social sector, the critical question is not how much money do we make per dollar of capital investment, but instead, how effectively do we deliver on our mission and make a distinctive impact relative to our resources? So, if you could please get out your pre-work, and if you didn't bring it with you, we have the pre-work assignment, which is on page 5 of your handouts. So if you take a look. And we're going to start with part 1, which is story to attract. So we ask you to be prepared to tell your story of why you got involved within your organization, or the story of someone who benefited from your mission. So the question becomes is how can story attract individuals to your organization? I want you to consider how we can make a powerful story through a model called OSB. Now, just want to give one example. Okay, there it is. As you saw by Tony's story, when you tell stories from your heart and you're passionate about it, what happens is people are inspired to donate, to become members, to volunteer, and to tell others and spread the word. And why is that? Because people see something in that story they can relate to. And there is an emotional connection. And that emotional energy is something that is contagious. We all want to be part of something greater than ourselves that is making a difference. In this model that was given to me many years ago by my coach, O stands for obstacle, S stands for solution, B stands for benefit, and there are added benefits. This is a model for a story that's quite powerful. And research has shown that if you focus on one person, that people connect more deeply than if you tell the story about many. So let me give you an example, okay, through Tony's story. So, what was the obstacle in Tony's story? Well, he focused it on Leonard, right? And Leonard was an at-risk youth, gang-riddled area, didn't see his life beyond 18 years. He was the enforcer of a gang called Faux Block, and he rarely attended high school, so he had many obstacles, right? The solution, he found YMC. And they saw his gifts, they cared for his wounds, they gave him a caring mentor and a community of support, and they didn't give up on him no matter what. And the benefits were that Leonard got out of gang life. He graduated high school and now is attending the University of Hawaii. And the added benefit was that his mentor said that Leonard changed his life. So 2 lives changed. So you're going to do an exercise that's in your handout. You're going to rewrite your story in the form of OSB, and don't forget added benefits. And then you're going to share it with your buddy, and I want to add one other point, which is H for heart. You're going to sink into your heart, and you're going to tell your story from your heart. It can be about you or somebody else that you know that benefited from your organization. So you'll have 5 minutes to do it. And let me give you the symbols again. I'm going to do this when I want you to stop writing and then share it with your buddy. And then this when you're going to switch, and this to stop the exercise, okay? So what questions do you have? Yes?
This is our own personal organizations? Is that
It could be, yeah. Some people, the purpose of this is to get better at how we take a passionate story and then we kind of focus it so we're not all over the place. And people get our point, and people really feel the impact of that story. Okay? Does that make sense? All right. Okay. So let's go for it. How you guys doing? You're talking. Okay, that's good. Just want to make sure that you didn't have any questions.
Well, we're struggling, okay, because our purpose, our stated purpose is 2 things, right? To touch alumni, and then we raise money for scholarships. Okay, nothing too dramatic there, but the scholarships we've raised, none of those students are like this insanely beautiful story. They're all like, we help them, we help them, we help them, but none of them like reach out and touch me about what we did for them. know what I mean? So
Well, you know what, it doesn't necessarily have to be as dramatic as the story that I told you, which is something that, you know, is kind of, I did that so you could more easily see.
right.
But you find something within that person, you know, that was a scholar. Maybe they're the first in their family. Maybe they, you know.
Sometimes we know, sometimes we
We
don't.
usually don't get that much info.
Sometimes we get to know them, other times it's just hearsay.
Yeah, but see, this is where also, by some of the people finding out more in depth about some of the people that get the scholarships and stuff, it helps to take those stories. Those are the stories that then can be told, and it attracts people to come into an
Right. It's
organization.
a definite, people can feel it.
And so it's like a gap that might need to be filled within your organization to find out more about these people
Yeah,
that,
oh, agreed, absolutely.
you know? So,
Unfortunately, we're lacking the data right now.
okay, hold on. Can you start sharing if you haven't?
You have to go first because I'm so ready.
It seemed like you were ready.
I'll give you what I
I
got.
tend to be very succinct. So, I'm more of
Okay.
a point type person. So,
Because of
I'm with the brothers relatively new organization. And
my father
honestly, from
would
the
not
standpoint
allow
of
me
just trying to
to apply
facilitate
to a college.
connections between programs that are veterans.
This led me to eventually be called to serve in
So,
Vietnam.
I mean, I met a guy and I got kind of involved. He's my
The war
son's,
brought me
his kids and my
a
kids.
new maturity resulting in my applying and attending graduating from USC as a
The other
veteran
thing I do,
and graduating
maybe you might
in a
have a
degree
story
in
that I
civil
remember,
engineering.
right?
The civil engineering led me to spend my career working in water and sanitation, which afforded me the opportunity to help improve the quality of life for literally hundreds of millions of people on this planet.
Economically depressed jurisdiction.
John, that was beautiful. Oh my God.
I'm afraid to follow you.
Thank you for
You're
sharing.
from Hawaii.
Yeah.
You're related to the senator.
No, but my family used to know him. So, same last name. Yeah.
Senior, well, one of my
And the thing that really got me
junior high school friends was Daniel in
we got a bad
Really? Oh,
in Pasadena.
oh my God. Wow. Wow.
first time I went to the Boston.
So cool.
You ready? I'm ready. Okay. I'm not, but I'm
Can you switch?
USC has over 600 student athletes who represent the university in its most visible branding vehicle.
The story about myself is similar to this.
Athletics has thrived over there because of the passion of alumni and fans.
But for me personally, doing something like almost like a struggle to find identity, purpose, return back to USC to engage and finding some very
Feeling the choices
What kind of makes it come alive for me, I believe in the mission. So whatever organization I'm part of, business, nonprofit, professional associations, kids, sports, whatever it is, passion.
Wow, that's good. Yeah.
Believing in the mission. And then we want to serve. So I took it a little different way than yours, which I like yours. I put fellow Trojans and to me, family is, I mean, like we're part of the same Trojan family, so it's a broad term. Anybody I care about. And then what impact we want to make. For me, it's very at a high level. Hopefully, leave it better than what I got. Whatever organization I join. Like we all want to make the world a better place. Exactly. Same. Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's great.
Thank you. Thank you.
I like it.
But isn't just
I like it.
you know, are all
love Chicago.
But I remember the feeling of people walk away.
All right. Wow, I was listening to some of the stories and they were very powerful. So thank you for sharing with your buddy. So what did you discover in telling stories in this way? And how did your buddy's story affect you? Anybody?
Well, John's story was very personal, and so that was, it hit home right away because he was telling his own story.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you grabbed in, much like your story of Leonard.
Right. Yeah, it was very powerful. Thanks for sharing, John. It was beautiful. Anybody else? Nobody else? Okay, let's go on. I want you to reflect on how can you use story more effectively within your organization to attract people, to be inspired, to donate, to volunteer, to tell others and spread the word. At USC, we give a lot of scholarships to people, but how well do we know these people? I mean, can we find some of the people that we get to know the stories about so we can tell those stories rather than generally that we give these scholarships? That's what makes people go, wow, I want to give more, or I want to volunteer or do things, right? You attract people through your stories because it touches their hearts and they see something in that story they can relate to. Remember, people want to be a part of something greater than themselves that is making a difference in the world and in their lives, in the community. Okay. So let's look at part 2, which is gifts to be engaged. And in your pre-work, we asked you to name 3 of your strongest or your core gifts. And we define gift as something that we were born to bring naturally into the world, something we do without thinking about. In fact, we take our gifts for granted because it's just who we are. Okay? So the question is how can we use gifts so people are engaged and they feel valued to help us achieve the mission of our organization? There are 3 areas that I want you to consider, and you can remember it by COD. C is to create ways to find out what your people's gifts are. O is to observe your members. And D is to define the gifts that are needed for particular committees, particular projects, or your leadership team. So let's look at the first area, create ways to find out what your people's gifts are. This is so important because if you know the gifts of your members, then it is so much easier to approach them with your needs. When people use their gifts, they do things quicker and they do them faster. And when we use our gifts, we feel seen and valued for who we are. In most volunteer organizations, there are monthly meetings, and people meet for dinners or for lunches. And when you do the table introductions, instead of doing the typical one, come up with a thought-provoking question like, okay, let's go around and just introduce ourselves by saying our name and telling us one of your strongest gifts and how you've used it in a way that made you proud. Now, if you have a member from a committee or the leadership team at each of the tables, and they're listening, they're starting to hone in on their members' gifts and the value that they could bring to the organization. Observe your members. This is so important. Our actions point to our gifts. Our actions point to our gifts. So let me give you an example. One of my clients is volunteers for a nonprofit organization. And she is in charge of setting up the check-in table for every monthly meeting. And one day she said, Susan, I kept noticing this woman, I'll call her Judy, she kept showing up early to every monthly meeting. And I thought to myself, maybe she has the gift of organization because she's so timely. Of course, maybe she doesn't, but it encouraged her to approach Judy. And she asked Judy, she said, Judy, I noticed that you're here, early every month. Would you be open to helping me organize and set up the check-in table? And Judy was really happy to do that. In fact, she said, I'm kind of flattered you'd ask me. She got to know Judy and found out that another one of her gifts was she was really good with people. And so she said, Judy, I noticed that you're so good with people. would you be open to helping me check people in at our monthly meetings and to sometimes be a greeter? And Judy said, sure. So you never know what happens when you observe your members. The last part is define what gifts are needed for your committees, your leadership team, or projects. Now, what's interesting about this is if you know the gifts that are needed, it's easier to hone in on those gifts when you are observing your members, and especially your leaders. I'm going to tell you, it's sometimes very hard to find people to donate time and their hard work to become the head of a committee or the leader of a volunteer organization. But if you know the gifts of leadership that you're looking for, and you see it in someone, then you can get to know them better. You can even see their gifts in action and praise their gifts. People love to be praised for their gifts, okay? They do. And also to be able to tell them they have the kinds of gifts of leadership that you're looking for. Slowly but surely, maybe they'll get involved in your committees or projects. But let's see what unfolds, okay? Now, you're going to do a group exercise. And in this group exercise, you're going to share with each other what is one of your strongest gifts and how you used it to make an impact, positive impact in your organization. And then you're going to come up with one, not two, one creative way to discover the gifts of your members. And how can you use the power of gifts so your members feel engaged and valued? All right? So, who are my facilitators of the tables? You want to raise your hand? Cool. So, you're going to get 6 minutes to do this. So just keep track of time and make sure everyone gets a chance to share, all right? What questions do you have? All right, so let's start.
Okay, Scott, let's start with you.
One of my core gifts, probably that I care a lot about people. I mean, I care
yeah.
individually about people.
Perfect. John, do you want to do your gifts and then we'll do the group exercise?
In terms of carrying on this exercise, one of my gifts would be as a problem solver.
Cool. Ace.
Probably attention to detail. I'm kind of meticulous about everything I do.
And I would say I'm organized. Is that a gift?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So far.
Would you like to go next?
My name is Devin.
And to figure out the strengths there, whether it's organization or within a volunteer organization. I think that for me is what best. Again, charity and business standpoint.
That's great.
I'm competitive. I'm competitive. I'm a good listener. That's about it.
That's all you got? Really good. So how does that help your organization?
Because by listening to people, you can understand them. They'll probably, if you listen to them first, they'll listen to you. So I try to listen first. I'm a listener. I was a former teacher, high school teacher. So you have to listen. And if you listen, then you're gonna find out something. You're gonna learn something. So that's my first thing. I'm very competitive. I don't like to lose. It's like the gentleman said later, or we don't think in terms of finishing second. So I'm very competitive. If it takes me 20 years to do something, if it takes that long to do it, I want to do it. I'm gonna do it, and it's just all. That's all there is to it. So that's it. I'm with the Black Alumni Association. I'm with the Alumni Real Estate Network. I'm a realtor. Said I have a dream. I'm very when people buy into dreams. Plans, that's great. Many people have plans, but dreams are what people connect with. And that's a very good point. Oh gosh, I love that line. Like, I'm going to borrow it forever.
Similar to what you were saying. Follow up, follow through. I think that's important.
Yes.
People can have a lot of
I love this is my woman's table.
We actually was talking about our different organizations. We were talking about those gifts, but then it led us to talking about our organizations.
Yeah,
So
cool.
Are you the same organization?
yes,
Oh, the same.
all of them.
No, my list is not nearly as long as yours.
We met in Inter-Sorority Parents Council. Isn't that where we met? Yes.
Yeah, I think we did.
And your gifts are your very friendly. See? See?
I was in Rotarians when I was here, which was called Famous for Friendliness.
Really?
That was a philanthropic group
Yeah.
that did raise money for scholarships. They also did a lot of service within the community.
Right, right.
And then in those days, since I see that you graduated the same time I did, except that you look 20 years younger, we made mums. And so at homecoming, we would get these mums, and you put an S and a C in pipe cleaners, and we would sell them during homecoming to make money for all the projects that we did throughout the year.
Wow.
Right,
And it was,
That
very
is so
successful
cool.
at the time.
That is so cool. All right, don't forget to come up with one way.
How would you use that gift, like in the workplace? Like, how would you tap that person for something else?
Well, then, like in the workplace, it would be, okay, there's a good customer service or sales role, or somebody that would be a good leader that would train other people who are strong there. In like a USC group, it would be, okay, there's somebody that's good at engaging people. If somebody's kind in the background and more introverted, okay, how do we get them engaged? Or what do we do? Maybe they're more of an email contact person as opposed to that phone or in-person type recruiter. By the way, the best I ever saw was the Marshall School. We did a dodgeball day, and it was kids and Marshall students. And after 5 minutes, you knew which ones you'd hire, which ones were nurturing and caring about the kids, but not probably adequately competitive, which ones were so competitive they'd knock a kid over, and which ones were kind of in between. I wanted to do dodgeball from then on for my hiring process. Okay, come on in, we're doing dodgeball. Just anything outside where you could observe people.
I love that. Anyone else? There's one more innovative way to discover people's talents or gifts.
Well, I'm going to add on to the comment about watching and seeing what they're doing. But in my respect, going back to the other, the Lord gave us one mouth and 2 ears, so we should really listen twice as much as we speak. So learning talents by listening as an observer.
John, that is so brilliant. That is.
What comes to your mind, Caitlin?
I don't know. I was a little thrown off by my gift and everything, so.
Okay, let's do a little bit of a debrief. What is one way that your table came up with to be able to discover the gifts of your members and use the power of gifts so people feel engaged and value? Anyone?
What do you want to report out?
Okay. Back there? Did you guys have one?
Sorry, we missed that. We're finishing our.
Oh, you're finishing. Okay. Yeah, you're not done? Oh, did you need a little bit more time? 1 minute? Okay, 1 more minute. All right, so let's do 1 more minute. Sorry.
So, Caitlin, you can craft your report out.
Okay, I'm ready. We finished right on time. Punctual.
The other thing that we have at our company, we have a company cat. And so it's always interesting to watch people interact with that, both visitors, but existing people. You know, it's kind of like,
That's interesting.
yeah. And the cat is like everywhere, and the cat's always, you know, checking out new people and stuff.
Yeah.
What company is this?
We're a packaging company. You know, there's a feral cat that showed up one day, and now, you know, you go into the weekend, it sits on your lap while you're trying to do work.
You were able to get it acclimated to humans.
It trained does, yeah. But it's trained to watch it interact with people individually and then how they react back.
It's just an interesting path to success there, right? It's the barbecues and the cat, right? That's your path to success.
I don't know though. I'm not like a pet person, so I'm not nice to the dogs in
You're
the
not gonna
office.
do that.
I'm not mean to them. I just like do
Right.
my thing.
But I think that's
I
it.
would be
You're not
like,
mean to
I'd
them.
be like cat.
That's the difference.
Okay. Do you guys want to say something? Because you guys.
You can share.
Okay. Caitlin's going to share for this table. One of the ways that their table came up are several ways.
Okay,
All right. Tell
our
us.
two quick ways. The guys came up with some great ideas. One of them is to host an unrelated function or outside of your typical board meeting or something like that, where there's a little bit more of an activity or something that people can participate in and watch their different personality traits come through. Who's nurturing, who's competitive.
Oh, yeah.
And then, you know, turn those skills back around into what you need for the board or the organization.
Oh, that's great.
And through that, also listening. John had a great quote of listen twice as much as you speak. So especially if people are new to the group, really hear them. What are they coming for? What are their some of new, fresh ideas? And how can you guys use that to better the group?
Right. Yeah, that's such it's so simple, but we don't do it, right? And if we did it, the difference is tremendous. Yeah, so thank you. Okay, who else? Anybody
I
else?
was to say, just to add on to the listening, also ask.
Ask.
Really just say, what do you do? What are you interested
Right.
in? Like, we didn't know much about their organizations. They didn't know about ours, you
Yeah,
know? So
yeah.
we were able to share information
Yeah.
and learn more, you know, and see what drives people. so.
Absolutely. Ask rather than telling, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Anybody else? Yes.
So we came up with several, but the one we picked was ask indirectly by sharing, asking people to share, you know, tell us about a project you managed or some product you developed and launched or something like that so that you can find out somewhat indirectly what they may be good at. Were they successful in
Absolutely.
you know, organizing and getting things done and launched and what have you?
Right, right. Oh, that's great. That is great. Okay, anybody else? Yeah.
We thought as a group of just really empowering other people, listening, and really having a vision of dreaming still.
Oh, yeah.
And if all else fails, drink wine together.
Drink wine together. Yay. Yes, over here.
So we had many, I would say, ideas that were shared, but the one that popped up to the top was mentoring.
Oh,
And
yeah.
There's just a lot of experience at this table for sure
Wow.
about how to bring people along in their careers and how to be curious about other people and helping people take action and
Yeah.
like a big desire to help.
Wow. Yeah. That's so cool because it just kind of unfolded at your table, huh? Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Great. So let's move on a little bit. Remember, when people can use their gifts to the success of an organization, they feel seen and valued for who they are. So let's look at the last area, which is purpose to gain commitment, and how do we begin? When people's vision for their life or their life purpose aligns in some way with the mission of an organization, that is one of the strongest ways to gain commitment. So I'm going to give you 3 areas to consider in unfolding your vision for your life. And as leaders, it's important to know this so you can help others do the same. So these 3 areas, you can remember it by ABC. And A stands for, first of all, ask the 3 questions that we did in your pre-work, because they are thought-provoking questions. And even if you don't know the answers, in asking those questions, what happens, you plant a seed in your subconscious mind so that your mind is open to discovering it. Now, the other thing is that we need to be open to the answers unfolding over time. And C, calm our minds. Because when you calm your mind, what happens is you're present to be able to notice what's calling to you. So these are the 3 questions that were in your pre-work, and it's on page 5. And you're going to take the answers to those 3 questions. You're going to insert them into the exercise on page 4, which is called My Life Purpose, in your handout. And then you're going to share it with your buddy. And what you want to do is try to align your purpose in some way with the mission of the organization. And then you and your buddy are going to discuss what is a creative way to discover your members' visions for their life? And how can you help them align it with the organization? Okay? So what questions do you have? All right. So let's go for it. I'm going to give you, I'm just looking at them behind me there, and they're saying we're a little bit short on time here. So let's take like about 3 minutes, and let's do it, all right? Okay.
We're going a little off track.
So the purpose was, well, we started with that. We ended with that and we started with that.
And now where are you?
We're on our purpose.
Oh, your purpose, huh?
Our life's purpose.
Okay.
Our life's purpose is really to help others.
That's cool.
It really is.
Yeah, what this does is it just breaks it down so you think about it. Yeah. Yeah.
It's so funny you talk about calmness, because I'm pretty calm when it comes to all this.
Yeah.
But I have another side of me that is also gas. So I can live both in harmony. Can you believe that? So
Yeah.
Both.
That's
So,
cool.
Well, a great example is
cool.
tomorrow, all the emotions are going to come out, both good and bad, when we're in the Coliseum.
mostly bad. Mostly bad.
This one was a little tricky for me. Just trying to think of, I need to think
I'm having a
more
hard
about my
time.
personal purpose.
Having a hard time trying to differentiate between like life goals and specifically
Me too,
what my
exactly.
involvement with this organization.
Yeah.
A lot of this seems a little grandiose
That's
for
why I'm trying to feel more like
trying to
it.
facilitate connections between
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So what I suggest is that you continue this exercise when you leave here today. Did anyone want to share with us what came up for you when you were doing this exercise, as far as either yourself or as you thought about your life or your position in the organization? Did anything come up for you? It's like, how does it align, or?
Well, I think all of us had a mutual interest in helping, contributing, trying to help somebody else. So that seemed to be a common theme on all the discussions we had.
Yeah. the theme about just being able to contribute, make a difference, doing all those things.
Doing something positive.
Yeah, yeah. Isn't it great to be able to find that there is this common thread between all of you, that you're here because you want to give back? That's cool. Anybody else? Yes.
Well, I was talking to this lady here, Vanessa, and I found out I got a scholarship to attend USC as a
Oh,
senior.
you did?
I was
Okay.
a transfer student. I was a horrible high school student, and I had to go to junior college to get my grades back up. Long story short, this was a lady who gave a scholarship. She's on a fundraiser. She raises funds, and she gives scholarships.
Oh, wow.
So this is a lady who, back in my days, would have been one of the persons who made it possible for me to go here.
Wow.
Because of the scholarship.
Wow, that's so great. That's really great. Cool. Okay, we're going to have to wrap this up. But let me, in closing, end this with a story. And it relates to the story that I told in the very beginning. So I attended one of Youth Mentoring Connections mentoring programs years ago. And I must say that at the time, I thought of my execs as being over here and Tony's at-risk youth as being over here. And I met Leonard. He was on break from the University of Hawaii. And I must say that the wisdom of this young man who had faced death and chose life was profound. He said to me, Susan, I keep coming back because of all that has been given to me. And if it weren't for Tony and YMCA, I wouldn't be here today. In talking to individuals, I learned that so many were mentors for YMCA for more than 10 years. And I asked them what made them stay. And there was this theme that kept coming up, which was, it wasn't just about being able to give back and change other young people's lives, but it was about how their lives changed as well. And as I experienced this community, I let go of my judgments, and the humanity of each individual came out. And the gap between my execs and these youth started to close. And I realized that we all need to find a community where our gifts can be seen and our life purpose can be served. Because when we do that, that's when we go from being engaged to being committed. And the path that we follow narrows to something we must do. There's a quote by Ursula K. Le Guin. And the quote is, "The truth is that when a man's real power grows and his knowledge widens, ever the way he can follow grows narrower, until at last he chooses nothing, but does only and wholly what he must do." So my call to action to all of you is, how can you as a leader create a community, a village, where people see your organization as the only and holy thing they must do? Thank you. So we're just going to open up to questions. Did any of you have questions? Yes, Caitlin.
I was wondering if you have any more tactical skills or advice for continuing to, reflect on and develop our own gifts and see those gifts in others.
Right. For ourselves, the more that we, how can I say, look for the gifts in others, the easier it is to see it in ourselves. It's sometimes hard for us to see our own gifts because it's us, right? But if you get in observation mode and you are present and you literally get curious. Curiosity is amazing. You get curious, you start to see that the actions of people point to their gifts. When someone puts things away, the gift is organization. Someone's on time like Judy was. The gift can be, what did you say? You organized, right? Yeah. So in looking for the gifts in others, it helps us also to then hone in our own gifts. That atmosphere of curiosity and questioning is a beautiful space to be in. Yeah. Anybody else? Nobody? Okay. I think the village is waiting for all of you. So thank you very much. Have a rest of your day. Have a beautiful day. And thank you for being here.
Thank you. Good job.